the last movie, we created a text animator and offset position so that the letters drop in from the top of the composition. Once you have a text animator, it's very easy to add additional properties. Let's say I'd like to add rotation. I click on the Add button, Add, Property, Rotation. I'll return to the beginning of the comp where all of the characters are selected. The default for rotation is to have no offset, but if I increase the rotation value, you can see that the letters will rotate. And I don't want to do too much, just a little angle. Now as the animation progresses and the characters are no longer selected, they return to their original rotation value and this offset has no effect. Now when you're adding properties, it's always best to use the Add button. You can use the Animate button provided the animator is selected. If I select Animator 1, I can use either Animate or Add. But notice if no animator is selected and I select Animate, let's say I plan to add the Scale property, Scale is now added to animator number 2. So you might find you accidentally create additional animators when all you wanted to do was add a property to your first animator. If that happens, just delete the second animator and click on the Add button, and that way you'll be assured that you're adding a property and not creating a second animator. I'll press Home to return to the beginning where all of the characters are selected. Scale defaults to 100%, so the characters are shown at their original size as per the character panel. The default is to scale and rotate characters around their own local anchor point, and you can see a small X at the bottom of all of the characters. Later on I'll show you options for changing this. Again, as the animation progresses and text is no longer selected, it becomes the size set by the character panel. Feel free to add other properties. For instance, Fill Color RGB will change all the selected characters to red, and of course you can change that. As the animation progresses, the characters transition back to their original white color set in the character panel. I mentioned that blur can be a nice property to add. The default is 0 blur, so we'll increase the value. At the end of the animation, the characters are not blurred. I'll run preview, and now the text will animate from being higher, smaller, blurred, red, and rotated. I want to point out that all of this is happening with 2 keyframes. I don't animate any of the properties for this type of animation. I only have 2 keyframes for start. If I want to change the timing and maybe make it slower, I just move the second keyframe later in time. Now obviously at the beginning of the animation, we don't want our letters to be visible in the comp. So in the next movie I'll look at the various options for creating a transition.